All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for spending a little bit of your Sunday with me. I just want to give a little rundown of how I think this should go. I'm going to do a couple warm ups and then get right into some ideas for how to play Stash. The way I'm going to approach this is based on the transcription that I did, which I based off of the 97 Walnut Creek Stash. There's a great video, and you can really see what Trey's doing. So, hey, fishy fish. Actually, yeah, one other thing I try to get hooked up here is seeing everybody's comments as it's going. So here's what I think would be the best way to do this is kind of like if you're sitting here, grab your guitar and pretend like we're in a room together. And in fact, as I go through the song, ask questions as we go. Like if I play a part and you're like, hey, what's a different way you could play that? Or, any clarification, please ask as we go. Last round of live streams I did, I saved time at the end for Q&A, and I'll do that again, but it'd be cool if it's a little more interactive and I can be more helpful that way. Okay, so getting right into it here, I'm going to do a couple warm-ups that I think are really helpful, especially for the pinky finger, the ring finger, and hey, Kyle. Oh man, so cool you guys are hanging out. So I hope I can be helpful here. I'm going to switch to a close-up cam over here. Okay, now the other thing too, guys, is that I put the PDF for the transcription for Stash in the description of the video. So just download that, and that way you can just look at it as we go. It's just more efficient than me like clicking on the graphics as we go here. So if that's cool, maybe do it that way. Here we go. So here's a little warm up. I've got 3 that I'm going to go through here really quickly, and hopefully it helps. So we're going to do all the combinations that start with the pinky finger, because this is a heavily used finger in this main theme here. So the first combination we're going to do, and I'm going up to the area we're going to play Stash at, which is index finger on the 9th fret, just for context, pinky finger on the 12th fret of low E. The first combination we're going to do, and I'm going to call this 4, this 3, this 2, this 1. Okay, so we're going to go 4, 1, 2, 3, all the way down and up. Let me get this so you guys can see my right hand too. So we go 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So like I said, if you've got your guitar, grab it and try warming up with me here. So once we get to high E, we're just going to go back the other way. The idea here is we're just warming up the fingers. Okay, cool. Now we're going to switch up the combination and do 4, 1, 3, 2. And every one will be different. So 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2. Then we take it back the other way. Sometimes I got to remember to slow down here, so my bad if I'm cruising too fast. Okay, right on. We're just going to keep trucking forward here. We're going to go 4, 2, 1, 3. So 4, 2, 1, 3. 4, 2, 1, 3. All the way down. I see a couple comments here I'll get to in a second. So as you can hear, these aren't the the most musical or melodic things, but they really help with dexterity. Okay, now moving on, we're going to do 4, 2, 3, 1. 4, 2, 3, 1. 4, 2, 3, 1. Let's do that whole thing all the way down. 4, 2, 3, 1. Okay, we're going to do 2 more, and then I'll pause and look at comments here. Okay, so the next one's going to be 4, 3, 1, 2. 4, 3, 1, 2. Okay, last one for this series of warm-ups. We're going to go 4, 3, 2, 1. And as I'm going here, you know, if sometimes it can be tricky to hit the notes higher up, and sometimes it comes down to where your thumb is. So just be aware of where your thumb is positioned on the back of the neck. That could be like a major culprit for issues. Okay, let me pause right here. Okay, so the idea there is that we go through every combination we could with each starting finger. Now, usually I would start with first finger, do all the combinations there. There are 6 for every, well, how do I want to say it? I do 6 combinations per starting finger. So index finger does 6 combinations, middle finger, ring, and we just did pinky. I just chose to start with pinky because I think it's more heavily prominent in this song. Okay, now let me catch up to a couple of these comments. Okay, fishy fish. Okay, I tried learning stash a few years ago. It's a hard one. Okay, so here's the thing. The whole reason I'm doing this and the whole reason for the challenges, the Reba one, the stash, and then the last one, I'll tell you guys when it's time for that one. But I wanted to encourage people that maybe feel like they couldn't do the song or they had tried but maybe quit after a little while. Like this is the whole thing. You can do it, and I was hoping this would be a reason to really push to do it, just for your own satisfaction of doing something you really want to play. So really, that's the whole idea. If I can do it, you can do it. Really, I really truly believe that. Okay, so and then I see Eric saying, has anybody been able to find an isolated drum track for stash? If you're talking about like a Fishman, like isolated one, I know there are apps where you can do that kind of thing. I don't know what they're called, but hopefully somebody will comment and knows. Been playing this for 20 years. To this day, I believe the tab shouldn't be upside down. Who's with me? I agree. Actually, funny story on that. When I first started teaching years ago, I'm self-taught, so I never took lessons and I never used tab before. I would just learn from ear. So when I first started teaching, I would write it upside down. That's just how I imagined it. And one of the other teachers was like, "Hey, man, you're doing that wrong." So it wasn't until somebody gave me a heads up that I learned that I was doing it upside down. Right on. Okay, so okay, I think I hit a couple of those comments. Oh, here's warm up too. I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, so the second warm up we'll hit here. This one, some of you guys may have seen this one. I'm going to throw it in here anyway. It's I've seen it called the spider exercise, and I think it's just such an excellent workout for your dexterity. So here's the thing, though. I think that you can even get more out of it than maybe like the traditional way of doing this. So let me really try to get a good angle. So we're going to be in the same zone, 9th fret of the E string. Let's put index and ring finger down. They're like a team. Those are the odds. They move together. They lift together. The other thing I would try to do here is you do this exercise, if you do it with me here, focus on how much pressure you're putting down onto the string. You know, a lot of times that's an underrated thing that kind of gets swept under the rug, but the amount of pressure you put onto the string affects your intonation and all kinds of things. So it's kind of cool to bring some awareness to it. So we're going to keep these two down, and just as a warm-up, we'll have middle finger and pinky finger hovering above the B string, and it's like they're doing push-ups. So we're just going to press them down and lift them. Now, I'm actually going to turn because I don't know if you guys can really see. So, oh, shoot. Oh, this is kind of tough. Maybe I have to go the other way. Let me see. I want to get this so you can really see what I'm doing here. I don't know. Maybe that's a little better. But it's like push-ups for the fingers, kind of like that. So then the other thing is when you lift 2 and 4, you try to lift them at the same height, at the same time, press with the same amount of pressure at the same time, all that. All right, so a little bit of push-ups for the fingers. Now, then we can hold those two down and lift just 1 and 3. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm trying. So let me try to get a little closer. 1 and 3, they're lifting, but the other two don't. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea. I'm just giving like a little rundown, but you could take that and sit there for like 5 minutes straight and do that, and you get a lot of benefit out of it. Now, what we do is we have 2 and 4 pressing, 1 and 3 pressing. 2 and 4 go a string higher. They stay as 1 and 3 go 1 string higher. 2 and 4 go 1 string higher. So we keep on creeping higher and higher. Now we go up here to the top, and then we're going to jump over the A string, then 1 and 3 go back down to G, 2 and 4 to the B string, 1 and 3 to the E string, 2 and 4 lift off. Now, the first time I found out about that exercise, really struggled with that for like maybe a week or two, and I really made myself do it for like those couple weeks every day, a ton. And by the end of that, it really helped just improve the overall feel of it. But I really highly recommend that one if you feel like especially if your pinky finger and ring finger, if these fingers are a little weak or feeling like they're not pulling their weight, maybe do a little bit of really specific dexterity work. Okay, now the next one I'm going to do here is really tough. I think it is. So here's what we're going to do is put the index finger, same fret, 9th fret of B, and the middle finger. So these two are just going to stay put for a minute. And then we're only going to use ring finger and pinky finger. And what we're going to do is make a D shape like this without moving the first two fingers. Okay, so let's do 4 of those in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoop. Okay, now we're going to do a D7 shape. So now the pinky's on top. So again, I'm trying not to move the first two fingers. Then back to the D shape. 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4. Right on. Okay, so that is a really good one just to challenge these ones to like kind of stay put as these ones do a little bit of work. And then I'll throw in one more here. This time what we're going to do is each 2-finger combination is going to do one of those shapes. Okay, so let's start with 12th fret of the G string with the pinky. Then do a D shape. Then another D shape. Then another one getting lower as we go. Then I'm going to flip it to a D7 shape. Then another D7 shape. And then we're back to the beginning. So here that one is again. Cool. So just throwing some ideas out there for warm-ups if you feel like you need some help with your dexterity. Okay, now let's get into stash now. So what I'm going to do here is start at the very beginning. And for today's lesson, I'm just going to kind of show you how it goes. I have to, I don't know who's right in front of me. This is kind of tough. So I'm assuming that you don't know how it goes, even though I'm sure some of you guys or all of you maybe have played it. So please chime in, with the comments as I go if you have any questions or helpful comments. Like, I view this as like an open source helpful thing here. Like, it's not me just showing, but if you have a comment like, hey, I do it this way and it really helps me or whatever, let's do that. Let's help each other out. So here we go. Okay. Now, in the beginning of the song, here's actually a really important thing. If you're doing this stash challenge and you have that backing track, you may have noticed there's only a 3 count and then there's a pause. So the song actually starts on beat 4. And this is something I want to do. I want to dive into in a lesson video in more depth. Is Trey's tendency to not start on 1, and there's a lot of magic in starting before what we think of as the beginning of a measure. Anyway, so when you count this one in, you want to go 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So again, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Whoop. Let me do it again. 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and... Okay, now, there's so many different ways you could play that, but you'll notice right out of the gate it starts with the pinky finger. One thing that's really cool about this, I love that we hit this note right here, this G sharp. it's got so much attitude to it. If you were thinking of D minor, it's kind of like the blues scale, except for it's over here instead of here, where we might do it coming from like the minor pentatonic, for example. So one more time. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and 1. Okay, now beyond just like that's what the fingering is and everything, here's another thing that might be worth thinking about is your picking pattern over here. So a lot of times when stuff's on an offbeat, I find myself doing those on upstrokes. So like before that little diminished thing, you'll see that I do a couple ups. So really check out the right hand this time. 4E and a 1E and a 2E. There's an up. Now, I'm not saying you should do it just like me with the picking. I mean, everybody has their own style, and I think that's kind of the best part about it. But really, just more my point is to draw attention to it. If it's like, like if you go to play a lick and you're flubbing on the picking and stuff, like it's just more about that. If you find there's an issue, just looking at what is the cause. The effect could be a mistake. Getting right down to the cause. It could be your pick angle. It could be the down instead of an up. Just bringing awareness to it. There's a question here. Isn't there a jazz song that Stash is based on? Yes, and I cannot remember what it is. I remember that, I'm sure somebody else will remember and put a comment, but I remember that I have heard Trey talk about in an interview that he just like pretty much stole that from somebody. And I know like Bathtub Gin is like Gershwin or something, so somebody comment if you remember what the tune is that he borrowed that from. Okay, now moving on, let's get right into the main lick here. Okay, so we'll start with the pinky finger up here. Jump by Monk. Okay, cool. So the thing I think that makes this so difficult or seems so difficult, this lick, is that the pinky finger kind of has to go between playing on either the tip of the finger or the pad of the finger and then flatten it out. So like one thing I would try before even getting into the tune is try playing the 12th fret of A with your pinky and then just kind of see how I'm flattening out my finger. Then try playing the D string with the pinky with that flattening effect. It's kind of tough to see on the camera, but hopefully that comes through what I'm doing there. That's really the crux of it. I do find that when I'm playing it, my ring finger will tend to kind of buddy up here. So maybe check that out. I'm not sure I would say to copy that, but oh yeah, and great point. Somebody just put it's a 2-5-1. More on that on the next lesson next week. What I thought would be kind of cool is like just do how the song goes and then connect the melody to the chords that are being played, so we can kind of see some of the chord tones that are being brought out in the song. But you're totally right. That is a 2-5-1. Okay, more on that later. So here we go. Let's just practice the first bit. Okay, now, couple things that jump out to me there. Back to the picking again. I got to make sure I keep staying in the frame here. Let me back up. Okay, this is just me, but just food for thought. When I go to play the notes on the A string, I do those on a downstroke, and then all the ones that are on the D string, or really like any of the ones where we're changing strings, I tend to do those on upstrokes. Okay, so maybe on this next pass, watch the right hand, and you'll see what I'm talking about. One other thing. He doesn't start on 1 here. He starts on the of 4. So like 4E and Okay, so like that. 4E and I gotta slow myself down. 4E and So you see those ups? Let me do that again. So down, up, So that is one thing that jumps out to me, is the ups being used when we're like kind of jumping strings a lot. The other thing that I feel like is really important, is kind of the secret sauce here with this song, is how percussive Trey is. I mean, he is such a percussive player, but those little mutes that he does, like I'll play it again and I'll try to kind of emulate what he does there. So you hear that, like, and that ending just reminded me too. There's such a great interplay between legato stuff where it's smooth and connected with that sliding and all this, but then like this end kind of has that staccato kind of jumpy sound to it. Okay, now we do that again, and then we have that kind of second ending. So now I'll do that. Now, one thing that I always strive for here, partially I get this from watching Trey play, but really an inspiration for me with technique and hand positioning, is Jaco Pastorius, the bass player. If you guys aren't familiar with Jaco Pastorius, definitely look him up. He's not alive anymore, but he was one of the most incredible musicians of all time. And when you watch his hand, gosh, he oh, hey John, when Jaco would play, you know, it's almost like his overall form like would never change. It was always like the same thing like this, but it was always like just if he's moving left or right. But he always maintained this like seemingly perfect technique. Not, you know, I don't want to say perfect, but just really clean and efficient. That being said, you know, sometimes things don't need to be clean and efficient. Sometimes the most efficient way to do something isn't necessarily the right way for the moment. Okay, now let me do that whole like first theme again, first and second ending, and then we'll get into the next part, and I'll kind of pause and see if anybody has any questions or comments or anything. So 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and do it again. Really slow. So you hear those mutes? Okay, cool. One last thing that jumps out to me as I was playing that, I realized I wanted to mention, you know, a lot of times those minor thirds he plays are just ever so slightly sharp on purpose. I'm guessing. I don't think Trey would do that as an accident, but like just this, if you can hear that, it's subtle, but just subtly getting sharp, like on the. So just a little tiny bend. It's that interplay between major and minor sometimes where things get kind of magical. So now the next part is the change here. Okay, now this is another one that starts on an offbeat. E and it's on E and so this one now. I'm not 100% sure about this as far as Trey goes, but I know I start this with an up. So that's an interesting thing, is thinking about correlating your pick stroke with the beat and the measure that you're at. I find a lot of times if I'm starting on the E of something or the and I should kind of like catch myself talking like that. What I'm doing is counting in 16th notes. So sorry, if you're not familiar with counting in 16th notes, that's what I'm talking about. I know it sounds really silly, but just being able to do like 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and it really accounts for all the beats in the measure. Now, you could have a tune where you have 30-second notes, that's for sure, but it's kind of rare. Being able to count in 16th notes will get you a long way to figuring stuff out. So anyway, I start with an up on the 10th fret of the B string. Now you can slide down right there. Let me do that again. So Now we go index on 9, slide up, and then go to 12 of D. Okay, so let's do that again. Cool, then we do the other one. And so we just alternate between the high D and low. Then okay, now that part, by the way, is just, I mean, how amazing is that part? It's so good. One really interesting thing here, just a tiny music theory kind of note, is that I don't know about you guys, but I think of this song as being in the key of F major or D minor, and in that key you would have a B flat. So in other words, your D minor would be Aeolian. It would be the 6th mode of F. Now, the interesting thing here is then we kind of switch gears and switch to the key of C, it feels like. So, or not necessarily, but we have a B natural, and it just stands out. It's such a cool variation from the other themes. I mean, how cool is that with that B in there? It just is a great contrast. I'm going to play it again more up to tempo. And this time, maybe watch for the pick strokes and then listen for those kind of muted percussive sounds. Whoop, I'll do it again. Now here. Listen for the mutes. Okay, now we'll get into that part next. I love this part so much. Okay, now I'm going to lead back into this newer part. But notice that again, there's some ups happening here because it's like that 3 and it's just offbeat. So if you're like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So all those claps I just did, I would tend to do those with upstrokes, and then the other ones, like on the quarter notes and the eighth notes, I would do on downs. Okay, now leading into that new section, we're going to start with an up on 12. Now, check that little, I'm going to get really close here. That bit is back to that flattening trick like we did with the pinky finger in the main theme, like this kind of thing. We're going to do that here again, so really watch that. Right there. I'll do it again. Now we lead back to the 12th fret. Okay, now before I get to the end run here, I'm going to go back through that and do it more up to tempo. And this part is so fun. Oh, and how cool is it that, again, we're in this D minor feel the whole time. But I think one of the most magical parts about this next section is he hits the major third. He hits an F sharp in there. And it just goes to show, it's not really, a lot of times it's not about if a note is wrong so much as like, is it right for the time that it's being played and what is right after it? I'm starting to find that like any note can work. It just depends on like what is right after that note that you play. So just pointing out how cool that was that the major third of D is in that lick. So here we go back to the 12th fret. right, now let's get into this end lick. Let me move so you guys can see the whole fretboard. Okay, now what we do is slide. I think he's sliding just from like 10th fret up to the 11th fret. All right, now that right there, let's just do that again. It's crazy how efficient Trey is with all his fingers. I mean, look at how much he uses them all. Let's do that again. So sliding from 10 to 11 of B. Okay, now he follows that up essentially with an A7 chord. Here we go. I mean, talk about an exercise. I mean, look at that. That's using all 4 fingers. It's basically like the warm-up I did at the beginning, but way better because it's an actual useful chord. So you could just sit there and practice that over and over. Okay, now let's do those 3 licks into each other. Okay, now our index finger is positioned perfectly right here for this essentially a D minor chord that we're outlining. It's a first inversion of it, and then we move down to the 5th fret. Okay, now let me go over those few riffs, and then we'll do the very last one. Okay, so up here, 10th fret. A7, D minor, A7, actually just A. Okay, now we put the ring finger up here on 6 of E. So we're going to start to do this, whoop, I got to do the, there it is. We're going to do this diminished run, but I'm going to connect it to a chord, a little sneak preview of what I'll do next week, because it's not just diminished. So like I've got a couple maybe little bits to think about with diminished in general, but let's do the lick first now that I kind of remember what it is. So we're going to start on the 6th fret and go from there. I like to start this with an up as well. Okay, let me do that way slower. So this is in one position, okay? So this is just a straight up diminished lick. Then I like to slide the index finger up here. Pretty sure this is how Trey does it. So we're weaving a little higher each time. Like we go up, go back one, go up a little higher, back up a little higher. Shift. Yeah, okay, what a fun lick that is. Now, let me put the whole thing together from the 10th fret of B. Cool. Now, one thing I wanted to point out about the beginning of this this lick up here, to keep in mind, especially when you go to play to the backing track, if you do want to do that, it's that comes in on the and of 4, I think. Let me count the part before it, but it's really important to start that on the right beat so that it kind of all lines up after that. I could see that being kind of tricky to get lined up if you were feeling like that was on 1. Like beat 1 of the measure. That one's on the and of 4. So you would count it like 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 E. So one more time. I'll go really slowly. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Cool. And then in the tune, they just go back to the main riff. In the backing track for the Sash Challenge, I had to keep it a little shorter, so I just went right to D minor there. All right, so let me kind of pause. I've been blathering a lot, and just open it up. Any questions or comments or anything, or like, how about, like, do you guys tend to play it with that fingering in that position, or do you guys have other ways you like to play it? And if so, have you noticed a difference in like the tone or timbre in the strings depending on where you play it? Those are all really interesting things to think about. There's so many different ways you can do the same thing, and in fact, I'm a massive fan of knowing how to do the same thing in as many different ways as you can, and have variation to your playing, especially if you want to improve your improvising. I think that's an essential thing, is to be able to do the same thing in multiple different ways, so you can increase how fluent you are when you're trying to speak your language, and you want to have as many different ways to say the same thing as you can. So I know there's a lag here with the stream, so I'll just give it a minute. If everybody's cool and if nobody has any questions, that's okay too. It's all good. Any questions about the tracks, or anything like that, or like if anybody has an answer, Eric was asking if anybody knows how to isolate drum tracks for I'm assuming he means fish tunes, and I thought there was an app to do that, but I don't know what it is. So next time, what I'm going to do is go through all the parts and then connect to what all the other band members are playing. Like, okay, when they do the intro, the 2-5-1, here's what the chord is, and at the end, I actually, as I'm waiting for people to either leave a question or not, okay, the chord at the end, it's really interesting. Even though we start on a B flat here, because that is so diminished, the way it sounds, it can almost be a tricky thing, because sometimes fishy fish. He's asking, is there a tab for this? Yes, if you click on the description of this video you're watching right now, there is a link to a Dropbox file, and you can just download it right off of there. It's the full tune, so please feel free to do it. Here's Kyle commenting, I used to play the first part of the main riff with my first finger on the 12th fret, and everything in position from there. So yeah, I think, what? I think a lot of people probably do that, and I think it's awesome. Yeah, and in fact, the way it sounds like you're describing, like, let me see if I can. Let me do that again. So here, talk about knowing how to do something a different way. So I'll try that. Yeah. Okay. So you do it like that. That's cool. The cool thing, you could do like up here. What would that be? Yeah, you could do it there. You could do it in so many different places. What I was going to say is that, Kyle, the way you're describing, in the bridge of the song, he does do it that way. And it goes between that and that really crazy timing part, which I'm not going to get into right now. But yes, that's very cool. Let me see. I got to catch up with some of these other comments. It took me a while to get used to how Trey actually plays it, but I like this way. Now it sounds much brighter. Yeah, that's an interesting point, because so many more of the notes. See, that's the thing about it, is if you play it up here, I mean, it sounds really cool, but there's a sound to the B string and the G and the B string. The character of those strings, it is brighter. I think that's how I hear it, and it just has a different vibe. I'm not making a judgment on either way. I do notice the difference in the sound. And then this is interesting. The same thing with the middle section of It's Ice. Interesting. Okay. And then let me see what John's saying. Back in the 90s, I learned how to play it on the 7th fret. Cool. Then he started playing at the 12th fret, going up to the 15th fret. Yeah, and hey, it's all great. Let me see here. I've seen this song played in 3 different ways. Yeah, totally. That's exactly it. Okay, cool. Great stuff, man. That's great. So far we've had. I presented the way Trey did it on that one version where you start with the pinky finger on the 12th fret, and then Kyle said he had done it on the 12th fret but starting with the index finger, and then John said he had done it. John, what finger did you start with on the 7th fret? I'm assuming your first finger, but then again, like here's the thing: you could, like, if you were down here, you could be see how different that sounds. I don't know if that comes across in the stream, but that sounds, and I'm not saying bad, just different. It just sounds a little different. There we go. And here's the thing: you can play it down here too. Let me see. I'm getting myself confused. And then, oh, let's see. Oh, that's too hard. You can play it here. Let me see. Yeah, all those are cool options. I'm not even going to try to figure out the rest of that, but really cool. We've got a bunch of different ways. Oh, D string with the middle finger. Okay, John said he would start on the D string with the middle. Oh, really interesting. Okay, cool. I love it. I mean, it's cool. That's what makes the world go round, and doing stuff in different ways. Okay, let me see. Any other questions or anything I can be helpful with? Are you guys working on the backing tracks? Are they working? Are they downloading? Are you? And by the way, I know a couple of you guys did the Reba Jam. Man, you guys, I actually yesterday went through and watched everybody's again because I didn't get to watch them when we judged them. We just did it by ear, so I wanted to put it like see who did everything, and I got to see all your jams, and just so good. Everybody's so good and has their own different style, and it's just cool. It's awesome. Cool. Okay, so I'll give it a second. If you guys don't have any questions, we'll just pick up from here next week. So I'll do like a general review, and like I said, connect it with the chords, and then make connections between the chord and the chord tones. Kyle said the tracks are working well. Okay, great. Well, good stuff, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking your time to be here and hang out. You could be doing anything. I know I'm kind of like getting out of doing some yard work here, so I'm happy. Let's see here. What's John saying? D string on the 10th fret instead of the 7th fret. Or sorry, on the 7th fret instead of sliding back. Oh, got it. Okay, so instead of sliding, he's just using 2 fingers. Cool. Awesome. Great. Like I said, thank you so much for spending the time here. I can't wait to see everybody's stash jam, and it's gonna be awesome. This is gonna be really fun, and we'll build from here next time. I'm going to leave this stream up a little longer than last time. I'll leave it up for a day or two, see if people are into it. I've been reposting them to Patreon. I like to sometimes edit them and clean them up so you don't have to hear my uhs and ums and all that. There was another one. Kyle said, thank you. Hey, thank you guys. I'm so happy to do it. Hope I could be helpful in some kind of way. And cool. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon, guys, and I'll see you soon.